Hello and welcome to this character workshop session that we are doing on the play Thomas of Woodstock. And today we are focusing on the character of Richard II in the play. And what we've done for this particular workshop is we've picked one fabulous actor to read the part of Richard, and then we've brought in a team of other people to assist by giving an approximate cue into his dialogue, so that we basically break up the words that Richard says. So everyone has a cue script. I should point out that we're not doing this to examine cue scripts. We're just doing it so that we can just look at Richard's dialogue in its entirety. What we're going to be trying to do with this session is we're going to be trying to get a sense of what Richard is all about, hunting for ways to perform Richard. I'm going to be giving some very, very bad direction as we go along, and I'm going to invite the rest of the team to make bad suggestions that Tamara, our Richard for the day, is going to valiantly attempt to field. We're not here to be perfect. We're not here to come up with a final performance per se. We're looking here to dance through this text and try and find some answers to questions. We'll stop and start and do some analysis as we go and answer more questions than we perhaps have done for exploring session where we looked into this play before. If you haven't already examined our exploring sessions, we did 4 videos on YouTube which may precede this in whichever playlist you may be looking at if you're lucky. If not, hunt around. There is more on this play and might be a better introduction to the play if you don't already know about it. However, if you want to know more about Richard II himself, or get a sense of how this play might be performed, then continue watching. To help guide us through this play, I say we have this small team of our regulars who have joined me in this session. First up, reading the part of Richard and playing around and battling all the terrible suggestions that I will be throwing at her is...
Hi, I'm Tamara Ritthaler. I am slightly terrified, but also excited.
And also feeding cues and just generally giving suggestions, starting in the top left-hand corner of the screen as I see it here. Sascha, introduce yourself.
Hello there, I am Sascha Cooper and I'm a professional actress, dancer, director and writer and general all-round creative and holistic entrepreneur in the UK in Brighton.
And next, also assisting slightly further down the screen, Alexandra, please introduce yourself.
I'm Alexandra. I have done cue scripting before and I absolutely love this play, so I'm very, very excited about doing this.
Because you'll be terribly disappointed by how I do cue scripts. And, and finally, joining us as well, Aliki, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Aliki. I'm an actor, theatre maker, translator and writer from Greece and the US, based in the UK now. And yeah, I've got no idea what I'm doing, but it looks interesting.
Excellent. And I am your host, Robert Crighton. I run the Beyond Shakespeare podcast and running these sessions. And when we say things like we don't know what we're doing, we don't know what we're doing in a very precise and narrow sense, in the sense that we're deliberately not setting too many rules as to how we're doing these things. I'm testing the boundaries of what we can do on Zoom, as well as what we can do with text. So when we state ignorance, we do it in all humility. We're going to start by just reading through the dialogue Richard has in Act 1, Scene 3. So in the context of the play, Richard doesn't enter for a reasonable chunk. People have mentioned him as a putative potential setter-upper of a poisoning plot of his uncle's, though precisely who orders what or for why is a little less distinct. However, this scene is in great state, as it were. There's an awful lot of people in this scene. Unfortunately, you're not going to hear most of their dialogues. For this first just quick read through to get a sense of the flow of the dialogue, if I could ask Sascha if you could read all of the other cues in, Everybody gets a cue of three words, or I say Richard gets a cue of 3 words. Give those 3 words all the meaning you can. And we'll see what comes out of Richard in this first pass. So there's a sounding of a Senate entering King Richard, Queen Anne, crowned. Lancaster, York, Arundel, Surrey, Green, Bagot, and Woodstock, very brave, the Duchess of Gloucester, and the Duchess of Ireland. Richard gets the opening text.
Bagot and Green, next to the fair Queen Anne, take your high places by King Richard's side, and give fair welcome to our Queen and bride. Uncles of Woodstock, York, and Lancaster, make full our wishes and salute our Queen. Give all your welcomes to fair Anne abeam.
Loving and kind.
I thank you for your double praise, good uncle.
Love to all.
Gramercy, Nan, thou highly honour'st me.
Speckles thou know'st.
Trust him not, aunt, for now he's grown so brave, he will be courting, aye, and kissing too. Nay, uncle, now I'll do as much for you, and lay your faults all open to the world.
Aye, aye, do.
I am glad you are grown so careless. Now, by my crown, I swear, good uncles York and Lancaster, when you this morning came to visit me, I did not know him in this strange attire. How comes this golden metamorphosis from homespun housewifery? Speak, good uncle, I never saw you hatched and gilded thus.
More should come.
You have grace of the day, but noble uncle, I did observe what I have wondered at. As we today rode on to Westminster, methought your horse that wont to tread the ground and pace as if he kicked it scornfully, mound and curvet like strong Bucephalus, today he trod as slow and melancholy as if his legs had failed to bear his load.
Want to be.
In your t'other hose, uncle.
Grace them so.
Uncle, forbear.
Whom ye speak?
No more, good uncles. Come, sweet Green, ha' done. I'll ring them all for this by England's crown. Why is our Lord Protector so outrageous?
Of those goods.
Our word, good uncle, is already past, which cannot with our honour be recalled. Those wealthy prizes already are bestowed on these our friends.
On them, my lord?
Yes, who storms at it?
Furies falls upon.
Once more, be still. Who is that dares encounter with our will? We did bestow them. Hear me, kind uncles, we shall ere long be past protectorship. Then will we rule ourselves, and even till then we let ye know those gifts are given to them. We did it, Woodstock.
Ye have done ill then.
Dare ye say so?
Unto thine enemies.
So, sir, we'll soothe your vexed spleen, good uncle, and mend what is amiss. To those slight gifts, not worth acceptance, thus much more we add. Young Henry Green shall be Lord Chancellor, Bagot Lord Keeper of our Privy Seal, Tressilian learned in our kingdom's laws shall be Chief Justice. By them and their directions, King Richard will uphold his government.
Stint this fire.
Beshrew the churls that make my queen so sad. But by my grandsire Edward's kingly bones, my princely father's tomb, King Richard swears, we'll make them weep these wrongs in bloody tears. Come, fair Queen Anne abeam, Bagot and Green, keep by King Richard's side. But as for you, we'll shortly make your stiff obedience bow.
Okay, so that was a rough just getting into the sense of it. Well manoeuvred round Bucephalus. It's a fun old word. Playful horse.
Did it used to be Did you and Bao used to rhyme?
Yow, the yow is turns up all over the shop in earlier drama. Frequently, you make that decision. Do you go with yow? Yow works quite well depending on what accent you're going for. Play around with that. Actually, I think try yow.
Try yow
instead of you. Lots of things going on in this scene, and it's quite a long scene, and it's a big set piece scene. But Richard's journey is actually quite nicely clear from what's going on in the dialogue, just looking at it in this abstract way. It starts off incredibly playful, and then almost with a flick of a switch between a few very short lines, gets much more, what's the word? Unhappy, shall we say. So how are you feeling about Richard so far, Tamara, in terms of just that dialogue, that exchange? What's going on with that dialogue?
I wasn't entirely sure where I identified the switch point, because it is very much a having a good time, bam. So I'm not sure where exactly, whether it's Uncle Forbear or if it's just after that.
I'm going to make a decision and for the moment and say I want you to bam on Uncle Forbear.
Okay.
I'm going to give you some very bad direction in just a moment for how I want you to do this a second time. So yes, we identified that this scene is almost like the worst wedding's best man speech ever last time from Woodstock. Woodstock gives this possibly drunken speech where he gets more and more pointed about the abuses of Richard's reign. I quite like the idea of just going straight for, that wonderful sense of happiness. I'm going to just tell you, just play happy. I want you to play over the top, ridiculously happy until you get to Uncle Forbear. And then I just want you to be incredibly angry. And I'm just going to ask you to play pure emotion. You can play it as over the top as you like. And don't be afraid to just play emotion in a way that we tell actors never to do, in that kind of way. And I just want to see what comes out of it at that. And so dance around, play around with it. Don't be afraid to do the wrong thing with it this time. Obviously, the beginning of the scene, you're setting up just basically who's in the room and your relation to each other. But don't be afraid to just look around the space you're in at the moment and indicate all these wonderful people who are around you. And be very playful and happy. Head for happy. Let's just read through that again. This time, Aliki, could I ask you to read the cues in? And nice and swift. I want the lines just to flow into each other. Let's just have a sort of miasma of words just flowing out at people. And Aliki, you can play it however you like, but go for it. See what you can really give Richard with those cues. So, scene begins. Richard, happy impression. Throw it in my face.
Bagot and green next to our fair queen, and take your high places by King Richard's side, and give fair welcome to our queen and bride. Uncles of Woodstock, York, and Lancaster, make full our wishes and salute our queen. Give all your welcomes to fair Anne Beam.
Loving and kind.
I thank you for your double praise, good uncle.
Love to all.
Gramercy, Nan. Thou highly honourest me.
Spectacles thou knowst.
Trust him not, aunt, for now he's grown so brave, he will be courting, aye, and kissing too. Nay, uncle, now I'll do as much for you, and lay your faults all open to the world.
I do.
I'm glad you're grown so careless. Now, by my crown, I swear, good uncles York and Lancaster, I did not know him in this strange attire. How comes this golden metamorphosis from homespun housewifery? Speak, good uncle. I never saw you hatched and gilded thus.
More should come.
You have much grace into the day. But, noble uncle, I did observe what I have wondered at as we today rode on to Westminster. Methought your horse, that one to tread the ground and pace as if he kicked it scornfully, mound and curved like strong Bucephalus. Today he trod as slow and melancholy as if his legs had failed to bear his load.
Want to be.
In your t'other hose, uncle.
Grace them so.
Uncle, forbear.
Whom ye speak?
No more, good uncles. Come, sweet green, ha done. I'll ring them all for this, by England's crown. Why is our Lord Protector so outrageous?
Of those goods.
Once more, be still. Why is that dares encounter with our will? We did bestow them. Hear me, kind uncles. We shall ere long be past protectorship. Then we'll re-rule ourselves, and even till then, we let you know those gifts are given to them. We did it, Woodstock.
I'm lost. Where am I?
Yes,
We-
I think you
we
jumped.
I'm sorry. I beg your pardon.
No, I don't think. I think Tamara. I think you skipped our word, good uncle.
Yeah, that's what I did. Sorry.
That's
Yeah.
all right. I think it's fine to pause at this point anyway. It's interesting. You get an immediate sense of life when you just throw random colours at things and see what comes out of it, and you find things that match really well and things that need more detail and stuff. Thoughts from the room in terms of Richard in this scene. I expect, especially Alexandra, who I think is also. Were you there for the readings as well of this one, or were you not? Yes, you were.
Oh, I
Whereas
was,
Sascha
yes.
and Aliki are more just what you're getting from the text that you're seeing and the room, and also just questions about the text and what's going on. We can fill in more detail as we go. Alexandra, any thoughts?
Yes, I agree that that it's much more interesting if we have a very strong pivoting point wherever you were to put it. Uncle Forbear seems the best place based on the Q script. Yes, the idea that even though we've seen the storm clouds gathering, Richard hasn't. You know, because we've been there for 2 more scenes, but he hasn't. So I think that gives the scenes that I know actually happens a lot more color.
Mm-hmm.
And also it rounds Richard out in a different way, and based on what lines other people say, they could be interpreted as double-edged. And I think yes, Richard has the line, actually, I thank you for your double praise. So there is an undercurrent in everybody else's dialogue that Richard, based on this, seems almost oblivious to, which I think is interesting to play. And then when he does flip, so if the more we go in one direction, the more interesting it is when he does flip.
Any other thoughts, Sascha, Aliki, anything?
Not much to add really, apart from the fact that Richard seems to be, at this moment in time, already establishing his role within the context of what's going on. And it feels like, in many respects, he's still asserting that control, and immediately I would say the time that he switches is when I would say when Lancaster says Furies fall upon. It's almost as if there's a very weird but subtle shift into something else going on here. Because as soon as Lancaster says Furies fall upon, he goes, once more be still. Who is that dares encounter with our will? And it's like something's switching on, and then all of a sudden he's trying to not quite appease, but at least try and keep everybody in a good place. But you can tell he's shifting at that point. And as we go more and more, it becomes more more forceful, shall we say, after that particular shift. But it's just that who is that dares encounter with our will? That's when you can start to see the shift and the cogs turning, I think, in the head.
Well, let's run this scene again. To the end. This time, what I want to think of it is more on a physical action. This might be quite painful for you, Tamara. You can say no if you like. So what I want is you to start with as smiley a face as you can, as you say everything. And when you reach the point with the exchange of Uncle Forbear, if you could let that start to drop there into something else, and let that journey. But then at the end, I want you to work back towards a ridiculous Richter smile again at the end. So don't worry too much about acting. Just contort your face in terrifying fashions.
You want a Joker?
Yeah, pretty much. Because the opening of the scene, Richard starts off in a very happy place. He goes somewhere darker. And at the end, in a sense, though it's a more angry, I think it's a more Richter smile because he's getting a certain kind of revenge, perhaps. And try it to the camera as best you can.
The smile comes back, but it's not...
It's a nastier smile.
Yeah.
It's a nastier smile. I think it's genuinely happy at the beginning. You've just got married. It's great. Or you've just crowned your wife, as it were. So everything's great at the beginning, and then everything drains out, and you can go for something nastier face, and then somewhere between the two at the end. And if you can play it to the camera as much as you can while reading a script, I appreciate. These are all difficult things I throw at you. And this time, Alexandra, if you could do the feed lines, play around with voices if you so wish. Let's keep the dialogue flowing. Let's try and not have gaps between dialogues, between different characters. Let's just keep it moving nice and forward and just get a sense of the flow of it all. So, Richard, smiley. And go.
Maggot and green next to our fair Queen Anne. Take your high places by King Richard's side, and give fair welcome to our Queen and Bride. Uncles of Woodstock, York and Lancaster, make full our wishes and salute our Queen with all your welcomes to fair Anne abeam.
Loving and kind.
I thank you for your double praise, good uncle.
Love to all.
Gramercy, Nan, thou highly honourest me.
Spectacles thou know'st.
I trust him not, aunt, for now he's grown so brave, he'll be courting, aye, and kissing too. Nay, uncle, now I'll do as much for you, and lay your faults all open to the world.
Aye, do.
I'm glad you're grown so careless. Now, by my crown, I swear, good uncles York and Lancaster, when you this morning came to visit me, I did not know him in this strange attire. How comes this golden metamorphosis from homespun? How whiffery! Speak, good uncle, I never saw you hatched and gilded thus.
More should come.
You have much grace into the day, but noble uncle, I did observe what I have wondered at. As we today rode on to Westminster, methought your horse that one to tread the ground and pace as if he kicked it scornfully, mount and curved like a strong Bucephalus. Today he trod as slow and melancholy as if his legs had failed to bear his load.
Wont to be.
In your t'other hose, uncle.
Grace them so.
Uncle, forbear.
Whom ye speak.
No more, good uncles. Come, sweet green, ha done. I'll ring them all for this by England's crown. Why is our Lord Protector so outrageous?
Of those goods.
Our word, good uncle, is already past, which cannot with honour be recalled. These wealthy prizes already are bestowed on these our friends.
On them, my lord.
Yes. Who storms at it?
Furies falls upon.
Once more be still. Who is that dares encounter with our will? We did bestow them. Hear me, kind uncles. We shall ere long be past protectorship. Then will we rule ourself, and even till then we let ye know those gifts are given to them. We did it, Woodstock.
Ye have done ill then.
Dare ye say so?
Unto thine enemies.
So, sir, we'll soothe your vexed spleen, good uncle, and mend what is amiss. To those slight gifts not worth acceptance, thus much more we add. Young Henry Green shall be Lord Chancellor, Bagot, Lord Keeper of our Privy Seal. Tressilian, learned in our kingdom's laws, shall be Chief Justice. By them and their directions, King Richard will uphold his government.
Stint this fire.
Beshrew the churls that make my queen so sad. But by Sir Edward's kingly bones, monthly father's tomb, King Richard swears, will make them weep these wrongs in bloody tears. Come, fair Queen Annabeam, Bagot and Green, keep by King Richard's side. But as for you, we'll shortly make your stiff obedience bow.
Oh yeah, I'd like that. That was really fun. Just as another way of just playing around with the scene. Really nice. I just love the way of actually playing that last scene. That last section is sort of nastily nice.
It's a lot of fun.
Yes. And yeah, just creating a sense of the journey Richard takes during that scene. That felt a nice flow to it, even if with rehearsal and with the rest of the scene, we would obviously come up with a more nuanced portrayal. But a lot of nuance was coming out there, actually. More actually than I was intending. How dare you do some acting?
Sorry.
Other thoughts about the scene before we move forward? Alexandra, yes.
Based on what he repeats, not in exact words, but thematically, what I find interesting is that from his own perspective, so from just what we're getting in his own script, Richard is trying to establish his word as the final word, and failing.
Mm.
Because if he has to say it again and again, clearly it's not working.
Yeah.
So it's a very, in that sense, it's a very interesting study of either the loss of control or the fear of the loss of control over his kingdom in his first scene. Yeah.
And that's a dynamic that we're not getting out of this exercise, which is the context of the failure of his power. Actually, of if he needs to, you're right, by making those repeated statements. True power doesn't need to make statements about its power; it just gets on and does things. Tamara.
Well, but to kind of not defend
Correct that.
Richard, but kind of defend Richard.
It's your job to defend Richard. We're here to pull him down.
Yeah, because as far as I understand it, he feels like a puppet king. He may have been crowned, but there's the protector. Ergo, he hasn't had real power, and he's now trying to actually wrestle it out of the people who've been in control all this time. So it's the whole play is really complex because it's about him trying to get the power that, I mean, according to the world of the play, should have been his the entire time. Because he's the king. So if the king says, jump, your job is to ask how high, not to contradict him. And it's almost like he got married and he feels like he's a grown man now because he's married now. And then nothing's actually changed.
Yes, he's still getting abused by his uncles in by a big verbal from Woodstock and then Lancaster, etc.
Yeah,
and I wasn't suggesting in any way that he's wrong to be reacting the way he is. What I'm finding interesting is that he's having to repeatedly go, stop it, people, stop it now, which is not kingly behavior, which must mean that he isn't being given, exactly as you say, Tamara, he isn't being given the treatment that we would expect as an audience of a king.
Yeah, so it's not about him losing power or something like that. It's literally he's never had that power.
Yeah. Well, without knowing the play, but knowing the history, these men have been his guardians since he was a baby, right?
Yeah.
So it's a bit that thing you get when you're very young and you go to university and then you come back to your parents' house and you're a child again. Only with him, his regents are with him all the time.
And this is one of the reasons I like to start with, just external things and, really unsubtle things is, the performance there of the fixed grin I quite like for this scene, because it's like, I'm supposed to be happy and supposed to be in control, but actually he's still talking. He's still talking. He's still talking. Shut up, uncle. And then it just drops. And that was sort of the first image I had in my mind as a sort of entry point. Before we go into the psychology, which we've done. Any additional thoughts about Richard? The things he says, the kind of language he's using here. Any thoughts about that at this stage?
I was really interested in what that rictus grin did to words like kind. That double meaning really came out.
I agree with that. And I don't know why this popped into my head, but you already, even as the scene comes to a close, again, little things that he says, he starts talking about himself in the third person as opposed to in the beginning of the speech. The beginning of the scene, he does talk in the third person, but it doesn't seem to have any credence. But as the scene comes to a close, it's what he puts together with King Richard. So especially in "Thus shall King Richard suit his princely train," and "with greater reverence than King Richard's self." Now, depending on how you emphasize that, again, if we imply the Joker-esque, Richter smile, or should I say Hannibal Lecter smirk in this instance, I don't know why Hector came into my head, but it's very much like that character, especially in this scene, towards the end, or the beginnings of it anyway. Depending on how you emphasize the speaking in the third person, you can indicate a lot by what that character is recognizing. And I think at this point, if the third person was to be emphasized in that, with greater reverence than King Richard's self. So, it's through gritted teeth.
Yeah.
And so you can start to see the awakening at that point. Am I making sense here, or am I going completely off tangent here?
You are making sense. There's always a problem with kings, is that that they tend to talk about themselves in the third person. It's not always helpful. It's the question of Alexandra's thoughts on that, perhaps.
I have a very supportive linguistic observation.
Excellent.
Supportive of Sasha's point. Yes, you are right. There is a thing about kings speaking of themselves in third person. But what's interesting in this scene is that Richard goes, I, we,
will.
King
Yes.
Richard. So he has an evolution in the way he refers to himself that travels in exactly the direction that Sasha was describing. And also, in terms of the people he's addressing, there's a lot of uncle, good uncle, kind uncles, and then right at the end, it's beshrew the churls will make them weep.
True.
Yeah. And there is an evolution in that sense. And the final line is very, we'll shortly make your stiff obedience bow. I mean, I'm going to make you do things.
And it's interesting that you go from what is probably so I imagine it as a wedding feast. So we go from the kind of, okay, we're finishing the formal thing. So you sit there, you sit there, you sit there, which is, again, by King Richard's side, our wishes, our queen. And then it's almost like he's letting his guard down and he's relaxing and he's less formal and he's talking about himself in the normal person. And then when he's challenged, he goes back to our word, our Lord Protector.
Yeah, so that the modes that a king can shift between is actually greater to some degree than a normal person. So that's actually a really, really good point and a good balancing.
It's in the middle of the dialogue as well that the shift happens. It's no more good uncles, come sweet queen, had done. I'll ring them all for this by England's crown. Why is our Lord Protector so outrageous? So it's almost like the crown came off after everybody sat down. And then it's, I'll ring them all for this by England's crown. Crown comes back on.
And following on from that as well, I've just noticed, when he says in that final speech, my princely father's tomb, King Richard swears, we'll make them weep these wrongs in bloody tears. That's him showing his true colours. And, again, to support everything that's been said, it's like he's putting that final warning shot, across everybody. And then instantly there's a shift. Come, fair Queen Anna Beam, Baggadon Green, etc. So you can tell the energy shifts in that last speech.
Well, the wheel there is also potentially the setting up the camp as well. We'll make them, won't we, Anne, Bagot Green? Yeah. Keep by my side. We are this party. They are that party. The battle lines are drawn. So that wheel has a double wheel. I
was going to say double-edged sword there as well.
Which makes me think of the stage pictures created. At the beginning, the great presence, everybody united, and then by the end, we're in two opposing camps.
It's a fabulous scene in its own right. Alexandra?
Just a directorial curiosity. I wonder how one would be able to delineate also geographic distance or familiarity, levels of familiarity and publicness. So, you can quite reasonably go, welcome everyone, as Tamara was saying, welcome everyone, sit over there. And now that we're seated and you're right next to me, yes, me and you, we're talking. And over there on the other side of the table, oh, but my uncles, and, of course, we speak to the entire table. And then, King Richard refers to the entire room. Or levels of that nature, not, not necessarily in a controlled way, in a premeditated way, but in a way that kind of indicates he's got, 3 layers of either distance or authority.
That'd be quite
in
fun
the
to
room.
play with because just as you were saying that, I was looking at stuff like, so sir will soothe your vexed spleen, good uncle, and mend what is amiss. And then to these slight gifts not worth acceptance, thus much more we add. And then the young Henry Green shall be Lord Chancellor. That can be to the whole room again. So he could literally turn to his uncle and be like, watch what I'm going to do now that you've been a complete dick to me. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he turns to the whole room and announces it to, you know, make it harder to contradict him on that.
Really, it really does depend who did the seating chart for the wedding. I'm gonna force us to move a little bit further forward to the next scene. So Act 2, Scene 1, we have, it's another Richard scene. It's a very Richard dominant scene. So a lot of Richard text, but also a lot of text being thrown at Richard. I'm going to give you a random or almost entirely random direction for you, Richard. This follows pretty much bang on from the previous scene, I recall, except that the previous scene ended with the uncles doing a bit of plotting. Richard, you're in a strop. You're in a teenager in your bedroom with your mates. That's your direction, okay? And everybody else is there around you, and that's your starting point. If you want to go somewhere else with it, by all means. But that's my cheap shot as to how to play this. So I know it says trumpet sound, but as a stage direction. Really loud music on your stereo plays. Enter King Richard, Green, Bagot, Bushy, Scroop, Tresillian, and others.
Thus shall King Richard suit his princely train despite his uncle's pride. Embrace us, gentlemen, Sir Thomas Bagot, Bushy, Green, and Scroop. You youths are fitting to our tender years, and such shall beautify our princely throne. Fear not my uncles, nor their proudest strength, for I will buckler ye against them all.
Oh, I didn't
Brave their sovereign.
Sascha, if you'll read in, please.
Yep. Brave their sovereign.
Tresillian, thou art Lord Chief Justice now. Who should be learned in the laws but thee? Resolve us, therefore, what thou thinkst of them, that under title of protectorship seek to subvert their king and sovereign.
That endeavours it.
Attaint them then, arrest them and condemn them.
Claim the government.
See it done, Tresillian, speedily.
Rise in mutiny.
Aye, there is the fear. The commons love them well, and all applaud the wily Lancaster, the counterfeit relenting Duke of York, together with our fretful uncle Woodstock, with greater reverence than King Richard's self. The time shall come when we shall yoke their necks and make them bend to our obedience. How now? What readst thou, Bushy?
Famous predecessor kings.
What findst thou of them?
Pride and treachery.
Why should our proud protector then presume, and we not punish him whose treasons viler far than ever was rebellious Mortimer? Prithee read on. Examples such as these will bring us to our kingly grandsire's spirit. What's next?
And the French.
Read on, we'll hear it.
1363, my lord.
A victory most strange and admirable. Never was conquest got with such great odds. Oh, princely Edward, had thy son such hap, such fortune and success to follow him, his daring uncles and rebellious peers durst not control and govern as they do. These bright shining trophies shall awake me. And as we are his body's counterfeit, so will we be the image of his mind, and die but will attain his virtuous deeds. What next ensues, good Bushy? Read the rest.
You were born.
Our birthday, sayest thou? Is that noted there?
It is, my lord.
Prithee, let me hear't, for thereby hangs a secret mystery, which yet our uncle strangely keeps from us. On Bushy.
Born at Bordeaux.
Stay, let me think a while. Read it again.
Born at Bordeaux.
1365. What year's this?
My lord, 1387.
By that account, the 3rd of April next, our age is numbered 22 years. O treacherous men that have deluded us! We might have claimed our rights a 12 months since. Shut up thy book, good Bushy, baggage green. King Richard in his throne will now be seen. This day I'll claim my right, my kingdom's due. Our uncles shall know they but intrude, for which we will smite their base ingratitude.
Your royal presence.
Our Uncle Edmund? So, were it not he, we would not speak with him. But go admit him. Woodstock and Gaunt are stern and troublesome, but York is gentle, mild, and generous, and therefore we admit his conference.
He comes, my lord.
Methinks 'tis strange, my good and reverend uncle, you and the rest should thus malign against us, and every hour with rude and bitter taunts abuse King Richard and his harmless friends. We had a father that once called ye brother, a grandsire too that titled you his son. But could they see how you have wronged King Richard, their ghosts would haunt ye, and in dead of night fright all your quiet sleeps with horrid fears. I pray stand up. We honour reverend years and meaner subjects. Good uncle, rise and tell us, what further mischiefs are there now devised to torture and afflict your sovereign with?
Your country's government.
Have they so soon procured a parliament without our knowledge too? 'Tis somewhat strange. Yet say, good uncle, we will meet them straight.
Nelm, not you.
We shall believe you, uncle. Go attend him. Yes, we will meet them, but with such intent as shall dismiss their sudden parliament, till we be pleased to summon and direct it. Come, sirs, to Westminster, attend our state. This day shall make you ever fortunate. The 3rd of April, Bushy note of the time, our age accomplished, crown and kingdoms mine.
And that's the end of that scene. Certainly as far as Richard is concerned. It's a scene in 3 parts, I think, in the journey of Richard. We have a sort of opening gambit where there's sort of general policy and stuff with Tresillian and oh, woe is me. And then there's quite a sudden shift of, oh, Bushy's reading a book. Let's find out about what's going on in the book, and that's where we discover that Richard, you're already of age. It's all a con. Your uncles have been lying to you all this time. You don't know when you were born. You don't know you were born, do you? Which sort of culminates in some vengeance talk, and then we have the final thing of enter York, and the way you deal with that uncle is really, really interesting. So we need to sort of map a route through these 3 phases for the next stagger through. Thoughts before we come up with a plan. Again, what's Richard saying, the kind of language he's using, the people around him, the impressions you're getting from that. Thoughts, Alexandra?
I don't think the opening section is general policy. I think there's something very dangerous going on under that, based on the cues that Richard is responding to and setting aside what we know actually happens in the scene. Because they're saying it's brave their sovereign, endeavour it, claim the government, rise in mutiny. You know, it's very much an undercurrent of pushing him to do something, or supporting him in his wish to attain them, arrest them, condemn them, see it be done, to do something very extreme.
Yes, because the rise in mutiny is about the people. If you attaint your uncles, the people love them. They don't love you. They love them, which is historical nonsense, by the way. The country loathed the uncles.
But then that's why the subject changes.
Yeah.
And then Richard is the person who changes the subject, because he's there surrounded by his friends going, oh my God, I hate these people. They're ruining my life. And everyone around him is going, yes, yes, they are terrible. You should do something about it. Yes, but if we do, then we're going to make things a lot worse. Let's think about something else. Oh, look, you've got a book.
Yeah. I like that. Willful changing the subject from Richard because he's king and he can. Tamara.
I was gonna say it's more. It's more like he's pacing up and down the room, going, "How do I get rid of them? How do I get rid of them? What do I do?" Tresillian, you're a lawyer. What do I do? Yeah.
Tresillian, you're a lawyer. Think of something.
Yeah. Come on, you come up with a loophole. So I mean, I'm trying to think of a good analog for pacing, which we can do in a narrow frame field camera view. Swivel chair.
Not
that sort of
necessarily swivel chair, but you could do a kind of a.
Yeah.
or even just something like with the hands, it's like, come on, that,
Well, because if it moves more towards almost a panic attack at times, there is that thing of the people and the people. What am I going to do? And that sort of
even that with the head is like that even frustration,
And the language he's using is so much more aggressive here, isn't it? I mean, there's no ambiguity here. Attaint them, arrest them, and condemn them. He's really going for it. And it's that you like them because they're young. Your mates are young. You don't like the old people. Get rid of the old people. You have no interest in them. And you want them to hug you as well. Embrace us, gentlemen. There's something like it's almost like you've stormed out of the previous scene, and this is you trying to recover.
It's a bit Mean Girls, isn't it? It's a bit like, give me a hug.
Yeah.
I need a hug now.
Okay, that's your motivation. Mean Girls. There we are. That's play it that way. Yeah. Again, I'm not doing subtle at this stage. We'll do psychology as we further on. So the second chunkette, which is playing around with history, because of course the history they're reading is of your ancestors, of your father and your father's father. And famous victories and things, and I think I could be wrong. I may have forgotten that.
I do love that he's the son of the Black Prince, and it's okay. That's very different.
It's his armor. It's his armor. He wore black armor.
Yes, but he was also quite famous for all the battling and stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was this great warrior personage, and a real git as well.
It's like
Richard references that as well. He actually says, if I have.
Oh, I think we've lost you, Alexandra, for a second.
Sorry,
start your sentence again. We just lost you.
I just said Richard actually references that heritage and burden that he's got, and says, I can't find it right now, but it's something like, if I were environed like he was, or if I had his, I don't know, military might, I could solve all my problems. I can't find the line, but yes, he actually does mention that.
Yeah. So
princely Edward, had thy son such fortune and success to follow him, his daring uncles and rebellious peers durst not control and govern as they do.
What? Yeah, it's a weird mix of sort of almost trying to conjure him and self-pity at the same time. It's really conflicting in my mind. I don't have a sort of very clear motivation for you, as it were, for that.
It's kind of hilarious because he talks himself into this rage of like, and will die, but will attain his virtuous deed. And then it's a 180, and he's like, keep reading, Bushy.
Yeah, maybe that's a way into this scene. Is just think of it as constantly flipping between two dualities. You're going from panicked and incapable of action to being dead, death, kill everybody.
I hate to do the Star Wars thing again, but it's really giving me some vibes here.
Go for it. I'm happy with Star Wars references.
It's just very Kylo Ren.
Okay. Okay, your best Kylo Ren impression then for the second section. Kylo, lovely. For section 2, after you talk about the book. And then the final section I find really interesting when York comes in. And he just seems to go for York. It's like he goes on the offensive the moment York comes in. And so it's really doing his best being a king impression is sort of how I think of that. I don't know if other people agree or disagree.
I'm interested in the lead into that, where he says, "Oh, look, if it had been any of the others, I wouldn't have even let him in. But it's York. York's the more manageable of them."
Yeah, you can manipulate him.
Yeah, but almost as if he's excusing his decision to admit York to his circle of contemporaries.
I feel like it's more that he, because he says York is gentle, mild, and generous. So I'm going to pummel the crap out of him.
Well, Woodstock wouldn't let you do that to him, and Lancaster certainly wouldn't. But you can bully York in isolation.
You can't bully Gaunt, I don't think.
No, you can't bully Gaunt.
This is the same York that earlier in the scene he's referred to as the counterfeit relenting Duke of York. So he very much changes his point of view once he's got I think there's a massive change just generally in Richard's character once he's got the news that actually he's of age. Because to look at it from his perspective for a moment, he has been dealt with very unjustly, right? He's been told he was crowned at 10, as we know, but the play doesn't mention that. But what we see is that throughout his kingship, he's been treated entirely unlike a king. He's not been listened to. He's not being given the respect that he's being told to expect. And nobody's able to do anything about it. And then he gets to this point where he's going, I have to get out of this situation that I am in. You guys, my friends, can you help me? And then they do. So suddenly he's got the solution. His the way out is clear. And finally he can take revenge on these people who have been treating him so unjustly from his own perspective.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so the moment he's got that.
He was hoping to get.
Sorry,
say again, Tamara?
It's literally the loophole that he wanted Tresillian to find through laws and stuff. Right there, it's in the history book.
Yeah, Tresillian doesn't find it. Bushy does. Actually, just going back to the point about the book, it's like that. I almost would like to just do. They read the book, Born at Bordeaux, and Richard goes, "Stay. Let me think a while. Read it again." It's like there's the light bulbs going off on his head, just going, hang on, processing. I'm of age. I'm not going to do that to you, by the way, as you perform it, but
you're free.
It's the fact that in a sense it's a definite performance when York comes on. He's made a plan in that 5 lines before he actually admits him that he's going, he's going to do this. He's going to summon Parliament, and he's going to use that opportunity to what York does to turn it to his own ends, and that there's something more calculating about him. I'm looking for a really cheap motivation for that final sequence.
Bench. He's just been told he's in the right. So now I can tell him what I really think about him.
Right, yeah.
And a way to possibly get into that, off the top of my head, I don't know if anybody's watched Batman Forever with Val Kilmer and Tommy Lee Jones. Lee Jones plays Two-Face. There's a point in that movie throughout the whole thing where Two-Face literally switches if something's triggered, and it's quite abrupt. It's dangerous. It's the way Lee Jones does it. It's okay. It's in a comic-like state, but it's dangerously abrupt. So one minute you could be getting Mr. Smooth talking lawyer, the next you could be getting this chaotic madman, and you could use that sort of technique. What people were saying about processing all these thoughts, but it just popped into my head that it is almost like that quick switcheroo, that everybody has two different sides to them, like the almost Gemini effect, which could be explored quite nicely in this scene, I think.
What I've just noticed as well is Richard does quite a long speech before he says, "I pray stand up."
Yeah.
So physically speaking,
you force him on his knees with your words.
He's on his knees, which I don't know. I don't think there's a cue in there that makes me have him on his knees or have him bow, but I'm certainly not giving him the rise for ages.
No. I mean, that's the thing. Your job is to get him on his knees. It's not like he's come in and necessarily bow to you, because I don't think he does. You make him bow and get on his knees by what you say to him. That's your job. So that's your job. Get him on his knees. That's your motivation.
Make them bend to our obedience.
Yeah. So, yeah, literally the last line of the previous scene. Yes. Thank you, Alexandra. Yeah. So make him bow. That's your motivation for the third section, and then play from there. So you're for this run, and Aliki this time, if you could read the other dialogue. Start Mean Girls. Head into Kylo Ren. I don't know how you'll transition between the two. I think they're probably quite similar. And then make him bow is your final motivation. That's how we'll play this scene. Play around, dance around, see what comes up. Aliki will give you your feeds. Any final thoughts before we go, while Tamara just finds where her pages are? No. Tamara, are you in the right order?
I'm in the right order. I just wrote down Mean Girl, Kylo Ren. Get him to kneel.
Lovely. Years of directorial training has led me to such helpful insights. Okay, so start the scene off, Richard.
Thus shall King Richard suit his princely train, despite his uncle's pride. Embraces, gentlemen, Sir Thomas Bagot, Bushy, Green, and Scroop. Your youths are fitting to our tender years, and such shall beautify our princely throne. Fear not, my uncles, nor their proudest strength, for I will buckler ye against them all.
Brave their sovereign.
Tressilian, thou art Lord Chief Justice now. Who should be learned in the laws but thee? Resolve us therefore what thou thinkst of them that under title of protectorship seek to subvert their king and sovereign.
That endeavours it.
Attaint them then, arrest them, and condemn them.
Claim the government.
See it be done, Tresillian, speedily.
Rise in mutiny?
Aye, there is the fear the commons love them well. And all applaud the wily Lancaster, the counterfeit relenting Duke of York, together with our fretful uncle Woodstock, with greater reverence than King Richard's self. But time shall come when we shall yoke their necks and make them bend to our obedience. How now? What readst thou, Bushy?
Famous predecessor kings.
What find'st thou of them?
Pride and treachery.
Why should our proud protector then presume, and we not punish, whose treasons viler far than ever was rebellious Mortimer? Really read on. Examples such as these will bring us to our kingly grandsire's spirit. What's next?
And the French?
Read on, we'll hear it.
1363, my lord.
A victory most strange and admirable. Never was conquest got with such great odds. Oh, princely Edward, had thy son such hap, such fortune and success to follow him, his daring uncle and rebellious peers dost not control and govern as they do. But these bright, shining trophies shall awake me, and as we are his body's counterfeit, so will we be the image of his mind, and die, but will attain his virtuous deeds. What next ensues, good Bushy? Read the rest.
You were born.
Our birthday, sayest thou? Is that noted there?
It is, my lord.
Prithee, let me hear it. For hereby hangs a secret mystery which yet our uncle strangely keeps from us. On, Bushy!
Born at Bordeaux.
Stay. Let me think a while. Read it again.
Born at Bordeaux.
1365. What year is this?
My lord, 1387.
By that, 3rd of April next, our age is numbered 22 years. Oh, treacherous men that have deluded us. We might have claimed our right 12 months since. Shut up thy book, good Bushy. Bagot, Green. King Richard in his throne will now be seen. This day I'll claim my right, my kingdom's due. Our uncles well shall know they but intrude, for which we will smite their base ingratitude.
Your royal presence.
Our uncle Edmund. So, were it not he, we would not speak with him, but go admit him, Woodstock and Gaunt are stern and troublesome, but York is gentle, mild, and generous, and therefore we admit his conference.
He comes, my lord.
Methinks 'tis strange, my good and reverend uncle, you and the rest should thus malign against us, and every hour with rude and bitter taunts abuse King Richard and his harmless friends. We had a father that once called you brother, a grandsire too that titled you his son. But could they see how you have wronged King Richard, their ghosts would haunt ye, and in dead of night fright all your quiet sleeps with horrid fears. I pray stand up. We honour reverend years in meaner subjects. Good uncle, rise, and tell us what further mischiefs are there now devised to torture and afflict your sovereign with.
Your country's government.
Have they so soon procured a parliament without our knowledge too? 'Tis somewhat strange. Yet say, good uncle, we will meet them straight.
Realm, not you.
We shall believe you, uncle. Go attend him. Yes, we will meet them, but with such intent as shall dismiss their sudden parliament, till we be pleased to summon and direct it. Come, sirs, to Westminster. Attend our state. This day shall make you ever fortunate. The 3rd of April. Bushy, note the time. Our age accomplished, crown and kingdom's mine.
Excellent. Getting a greater sense of what's going on there. It is difficult to make someone kneel, isn't it? With just dialogue. It's. I wonder if it is the when he's calling on his father, who you called you brother. I wonder if that's the moment where you get. It's like that gets him in some way. Also, of course, we had the wonderful irony of the ghosts haunting people. Ghosts turn up later in the play, but they're
These specific ghosts turn up later in the play. That's the fun bit.
yeah, and
Maybe,
they're not on Richard's side.
no, but maybe he does conjure them.
Yes, maybe maybe we should have some thunder in the background when you say that.
Yeah, he does conjure them on the wrong person, though. But
Yeah,
yes,
well,
close enough.
well, we called, but you were out. We've got an alternative delivery address of your brother. Yeah, I think the Mean Girls sort of motivation really did work for the opening. I really liked that sort of sense of but give us the hugs. I think that's something I quite liked. Any other thoughts about this scene? We got, I think, one more scene we can get through today, and then that's probably it, and that's about half of Richard's text. Other thoughts before we move forward?
It's very packed, this scene, I think. That's my thought. There is a lot, and I think we've only scratched the surface.
Oh, this is for all of what we're doing here. Yeah, we are only touching the surface. This is a big part. There's a lot of words Richard says in the course of a long play. And, we're not doing, I'm deliberately not doing detailed things. I'm throwing you the worst directorial notes ever to just get a sense of Richard. So let's get a sense of this next scene. It's a little later on. It's going to be a very different scene, I think, to the one we've just had. As we have Richard, Green, Bagot, etc., who are all approaching all his uncles. It's all going to possibly come home to roost any moment now. There's going to be a transition of power is going to occur. I think that's the general sense of things. So maybe smug Richard, hidden smug.
Hidden but smug.
Hidden smug to begin with, and then release your smug later on. I don't know, or maybe we'll play around, but I think he's got a secret. Richard has a secret at the top of this. He knows which way this scene is going. Nobody else does.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, for once Richard doesn't speak first as he enters, somebody else speaks. And Alexandra, it is your turn.
Uncle, my lord.
I, with our plain protector, full of complaining, sweet Green, I'll wage my crown.
Catch them quickly.
Why, how now, uncle? What, disrobed again of all your golden rich habiliments?
Jet in gold.
Nay, be not angry, uncle.
Heaven doth call.
Well, well, good uncle, these your bitter taunts against my friends and me will one day cease. But what's the reason you have sent for us?
And kingdom's quiet.
Where are those articles?
Call them in.
We'll ask a question first, and then we'll see them. For trust me, reverend uncles, we have sworn we will not sit upon our royal throne until this question be resolved at full. Reach me that paper, Bushy. Hear me, princes. We had strange petition here delivered us. A poor man's son, his father being deceased, gave him in charge into a rich man's hands to keep him and the little land he had till he attained to 21 years. The poor revenue amounts but to 3 crowns, and yet the insatiate churl denies his right and bars him of his fair inheritance. Tell me, I pray, will not our English laws enforce this rich man to resign his due?
To establish right.
The poor man then had wrong, you'll confess.
Quit his wrong.
Then Woodstock gives us right, for we are wronged. Thou art the rich, and we the poor man's son. The realms of England, France, and Ireland are those 3 crowns thou yearly keep from us. Is not a wrong when every mean man's son may take his birthright at the time expired, and we, the principal, being now attained almost to 22 years of age, cannot be suffered to enjoy our own, nor peaceably possess our father's right?
Attend thy throne.
Then in the name of heaven we thus ascend it, and here we claim our fair inheritance of fruitful England, France, and Ireland, superior lord of Scotland, and the rights belonging to our great dominions. Here, uncles, take the crown from Richard's hand, and once more place it on our kingly head. This day we will be new enthroneshed.
England's ancient rights.
We thank ye all. So now we feel ourselves. Our body could not fill this chair till now. 'Twas scanted to us by protectorship. But now we let ye know King Richard rules, and will elect and choose, place and displace such officers as we ourselves shall like of. And first, my lords, because your age is such as pitied were ye should be further pressed with weighty business of the commonweal, we here dismiss ye from the council table, and will that you remain not in our court. Deliver up your staves, and hear ye, Arundel, we do discharge thee of the admiralty. Scroop, take his office, and his place in council.
Succeeds my place.
So, sir, we will observe your humour. Sir Henry Green succeed our Uncle York, and Bushy take the staff of Lancaster.
Hear me, King Richard.
Plain Thomas are not here.
Done as this.
Give up your council staff, we'll hear no more.
We not, Richard?
Do what ye will, we'll shield and buckler ye. We'll have a guard of archers to attend us, and they shall daily wait on us and you. Send proclamations straight in Richard's name, to bridge the laws our late protector made. Let some be sent to seek Tressilian forth.
Him here presently.
Would he were come, his counsel would direct you well.
Dinner, King Richard.
No matter what today, we'll mend it shortly. The hall at Westminster shall be enlarged, and only serve us for a dining room, wherein I'll daily feast 10,000 men.
Thing we'll do.
Come, wantons, come. If Gloucester hear of this, he'll say our council guide us much amiss. Dismiss the parliament our uncles called, and tell the peers it is our present pleasure that each man parts unto his several home. When we are pleased, they shall have some and send, and with King Richard hold a parliament. Set forward.
Support his arm.
Gramercy Green.
Okay. Yeah, I've got a number of, sort of general motivators to throw at you. I've got a secret works really well for the opening. It's all... I've got this letter here from a poor petitioner, isn't it? Oh, isn't it... lead them into your trap. Lead them into your trap. But then it's that then Woodstock give us right. It's, ta-da! And lording it over them. And then it's rubbing their noses in it. It really is just this constant dance between, you can't do it. I'm going to do something even worse now. And then you go shopping.
Ooh.
And
Oh,
it is
shiny.
literally. And actually, I almost think the last thing you say to Woodstock and the uncles before they storm off, when you say "Give up your council staff, we'll hear no more," I almost think they're supposed to be bored. I mean, maybe not actually be bored, but pretending to be bored. Yeah, no, I've heard enough now. I wonder if that's a way to play it. I'm not saying it is. It's just a way.
Yeah.
Thoughts in the room about this? It's for Richard. This is a really nice scene to do in this fashion because it works really well as a monologue. Actually, you could almost do it without most of the interjections. Alexandra.
It's a really nice contrast to his first scene in terms of how he approaches, his position and the world after he's been re-enthroned as compared to the very first time we saw him. Because the first time, at the wedding feast, he was going, stop it now, stop. Could you, good uncles, could we not? Whereas at this point, he's going, do you know what? I'm not going to listen to you. It's almost going from, could you please not talk to me that way, to shut up. It's almost that level of contrast in modern colloquialisms. Which is, over the course of 3 scenes and just 2 acts, it's an enormous change in his character. And he doesn't go all the way into that until he's made them put the crown on his head again.
Other thoughts, things to do with this scene, or things that Richard is saying. Other thoughts.
For me, doing it felt a lot more straightforward than the other scene. For some reason, this one, you could kind of ride the waves of the text a lot more.
Yes, I mean, he does dance around, but it's a fairly straightforward, it's an actor's game rather than what is this text doing with me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It reminded me very much of Anthony Hopkins' version of Hannibal Lecter at times, especially as he goes on and on. It's after it's established at the beginning, right, this is what we're going to do now, it's just that whole thing of, well, good uncle, and I can actually hear somebody like Anthony Hopkins doing this because he's got that kind of control, he has, when you see people in power, they've got this really menacing undertone and they don't raise their voice, they don't do anything, it's just that wonderful flat line. And it's so clear, especially as he goes, it's just that control of, well, good uncle, these your bitter taunts against my friends and me will one day cease. And it's that whole continues like that, and even if he's challenged, as he seems to be, he doesn't lose his cool. Like Hannibal Lecter does. Again, it's that whole flat line, flat tone. Keeps it very cool, understated. That's got more power, I think. If you were to go really sillily OTT with this scene, Richard would lose the power. So whoever would play that role would have to enjoy finding that control, but slight rise of the voice occasionally, but just not going, then Woodstock gave us right. It's more like, then Woodstock give us right, for we are wronged. Thou art the rich, and we the poor man's son. Can you hear? It's just that lovely, yeah, I know what I'm doing, mate.
Well, the question
Does that
is,
make sense?
yes, but the question is, does Richard actually know what he's doing? Does he actually take power, or does he start to take power? I mean, there's the question of he's not necessarily, completely in control, and there's other things, possibly layers to that. Aliki.
Yeah, I was going to say almost exactly the opposite to what Sascha said, that I read it more as the pop culture reference that came to my mind was Kendall Roy in Succession, going, yeah, you know what, I'm in charge now, and I'm the boss, and I'm going to have a party in Westminster too, and I know you won't like that.
But again, So yeah, I see what you're saying as well. But you could play this either way, because even if somebody's not in control, you know, they act. They could simply be an act. You know, so you could act quiet. You could act a leaky. Your lovely thing of I'm in charge. But still, you'd have to, as the actor, make it clear to the audience that the subtext is showing them, actually, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. But to the others in question, in which he's trying to assert that control, you'd have to do it like there's a balance between the two states, either way you play it. Yeah. So good luck to the actor trying.
Yes. On that note, Tamara, which route would you like to take?
Well, see, my pop culture reference, if we're going that way, was going to be more down the Loki route.
Yes.
He has some of the control of Hannibal Lecter, but he constantly gets caught on the wrong foot as well. He's actually a pretty crappy villain in that his arrogance gets him all the time. And he can do, especially in the first Avengers film, he can do the control thing of, well, what have we here? But then smash, and he gets smashed by the Hulk.
And the thing is, everything he says until then Woodstock give us right. All of that is a game of, being ever so humble. Of course, I've come to Parliament. You know, he says to his mates, there's that complaining uncle again. But to his uncle, it's there's a sort of there's a double-edged sword to what he's doing with that line there as well.
I quite like Richard as a sort of trickster character myself, but
okay, go for trickster. I mean, this time, you've got all sorts of options. You can play, trying to keep a straight face is another way to play that opening sequence when you're doing the petition. You've got a secret, set up your trap. You can play it with all the weight of a controlled and powerful person when you do take from Woodstock the power. But also you've got you can play with the dilettante nature of it all. You enjoy perhaps taking power from your uncles, not just taking power from them, rubbing their noses in it by giving power to your mates. The people you're talking to are all your mates. You're not talking to your queen in this scene. This is all your mates, and Green is more than just a mate. Green is also quite explicitly your lover in some the players telling us. So there's all sorts of levels and things going on here. I'm not going to tell you which one to play. You do what you want to do.
Because I was going to say, just tell me which one I should go for, because otherwise I don't want to turn into soup.
Okay. Tell you what, Sascha, where would you like it to go?
Loki.
Go for Loki.
Okay.
Go for Loki, and then if you want to head back to Mean Girls at the very end, for me, when you get to shopping, after the uncles leave, which is after Give Up Your Council Staff Will Hear No More. Go Mean Girls after there, because you're going to have fun, and I know Loki does have fun, but he doesn't
have any friends.
No, exactly. You've got to have your mates with you for the end, so go for that. Okay, let's have another crack. Whose turn is it to read for this one? Who is it?
Either Sascha or Aliki, because I've just done it.
Sascha, I think. Was it Aliki first time? Yes, it was. So, Sascha, you're the feed this time?
Yep.
And welcome to the Marvel Extended Universe.
With the red-headed girl, Loki. Sure.
Well, yeah.
This is how it should have been.
Okay.
Right.
Green, feed us in, please.
Uncle, my lord.
Aye, with our plain protector full of complaining, sweet Green, I'll wage my crown.
Catch them quickly.
Why? How now, uncle? What, disrobed again of all your golden rich habiliments?
Jet in gold.
Nay, be not angry, uncle.
Heaven doth call.
Well, well, good uncle, these your bitter taunts against my friends and me will one day cease. But what's the reason you have sent for us?
And kingdom's quiet.
Where are those articles?
Call them in.
We'll ask a question first, and then we'll see them. For trust me, reverend uncles, we have sworn we will not sit upon our royal throne until this question be resolved at full. Reach me the paper, Bushy. Hear me, princes. We had strange petition here delivered us. A poor man's son, his father's being deceased, gave him in charge unto a rich man's hands to keep him and the little land he had till he attained to 21 years. The poor revenue amounts but to 3 crowns, and yet the insatiate child denies his right and bars him of his fair inheritance. Tell me, I pray, will not our English laws enforce this rich man to resign his due?
To establish right.
The poor man then had wrong, you will confess.
Quit his wrong.
Then Woodstock give us right, for we are wronged. Thou art the rich, we the poor man's son. The realms of England, France, and Ireland are those 3 crowns thou yearly keep from us. Is not a wrong when every mean man's son may take his birthright at the time expired, and we, the principal, being now attained almost to 22 years of age, cannot be suffered to enjoy our own, nor peaceably possess our father's right?
Attend thy throne.
Then, in the name of heaven, we thus ascend it. And here we claim our fair inheritance of fruitful England, France, and Ireland, superior lord of Scotland, and the rights belonging to our great dominions. Here, uncles, take the crown from Richard's hand, and once more place it on our kingly head. This day we will be new enthronished.
England's ancient rights.
We thank you all. So, now we feel ourselves. Our body could not fill this chair till now. 'Twas scanted to us by protectorship. But now we let ye know King Richard rules, and will elect and choose, place and displace such officers as we ourselves shall like of. And first, my lords, because your age is such as pity 'twere ye should be further pressed with weighty business of the commonweal, we here dismiss ye from the council table, and will that you remain not in our court. Deliver your staves. And hear ye, Arundel, we do discharge ye of the admiralty. Scroop, take his office and his place in council.
Succeeds my place.
So, sir, we will observe your humour. Sir Henry Green succeed our Uncle York, and Bushy take the staff of Lancaster.
Hear me, King Richard.
Plain Thomas, I'll not hear ye.
Done as this.
Give up your council staff, we'll hear no more.
We not, Richard.
Do what ye will, we'll shield and buckler ye. We'll have a guard of archers to attend us, and they shall daily wait on us, and you send proclamation straight on Richard's name to bridge the laws our late protector made. Let some be sent to seek Tressilian forth.
Him here presently.
Oh, would he were come, his counsel would direct you well.
Dinner, King Richard?
No matter what today, we'll mend it shortly. The hall at Westminster shall be enlarged, and only serve us for a dining room wherein I'll daily feast 10,000 men.
Thing will do.
Come, wantons, come! If Gloucester hear of this, he'll say our council guides us much amiss. Dismiss the parliament our uncles called, and tell the peers it is our present pleasure that each man parts unto his several home. When we are pleased, they shall have summons sent, and with King Richard hold a parliament set forward.
Support his arm.
Gramercy Green.
Oh yes, the mercurialness of it worked really well there. I also love the fact that we suddenly got the idea that by daily feasting 10,000 men, you've got a lot of cruising potential available there. It was like 10,000 men will wander past my door every day. Yeah, that I thought worked really, really nicely. There's still so much more, and again, so much more once you actually get the interjections, and because people are making quite sizable speeches back at you. There's some big action going on here as Woodstock and breaking staffs of office, and your uncles all have big set pieces around you. But in terms of Richard's journey, it's a really, really nice scene. The moment he's got power, what is he doing? He's having a laugh. The trust fund strings have come off.
I'm really interested in that word "wantons" there. It's like it makes me think of like American high school kids. Come on, party animals!
I mean, we've talked about this when we explored the text overall, about how it both is very much of its time and covering very, very important issues of its day, but also there are so many really strong parallels with okay, not necessarily the Marvel Extended Universe, but just those sort of all those teen dramas with trust fund kids and really people with an awful lot of privilege that you seem to get endlessly in television. That Richard really applies to in certain ways, in really interesting ways. Alexandra?
I think there's an interesting sort of internal contradiction there that might be really interesting for the Richard character, for the person playing the Richard character, because he is a person with enormous privilege and at the same time of enormous deprivation. Because he has all these things that other people don't have, but he also has very little power over his own life until he takes power at this point. And so he's an interesting study of someone who, whilst being incredibly privileged, is also incredibly deprived. And feels, that's the important thing, he feels deprived. And I think there's an amount of looking at this scene and the number of times he uses variations on the word wrong and writing and about him being wronged. It's someone I know says hurt people. His aggression comes from, as with everybody, it's only ever born of either injury or fear of injury, and in his case he feels he has been injured, so he's hitting back now that he can. So I thought the vulnerability and the unwillingness to be vulnerable again, or the willingness to not be vulnerable anymore, is a really interesting dynamic in this scene particularly.
Yeah, because of course, the process we're engaging in at the moment is sort of working outside inward. We've played around with the surface potential of this scene, the kind of grand theatrics we can play with Richard. I think Alexandra is absolutely right there. As we start looking what's going on inside, underneath the hood, as it were, with Richard, that anger is a really interesting motivator and driver for what he's doing. That sense that these people have lied to him. He's in, for years. This is all based on a lie. It may be a lie of omission. And maybe they got it wrong. Maybe they haven't been quietly extending his. There's some ambiguity in the text about precisely what's going on here. but even so,
But
it's still massive. Yes, Alexandra.
I was just going to add, and it's worse than just being lied to. It's that he's been lied to in order to be controlled.
Mm.
Right? So these are the people who have been not just running the country on his behalf, but ruling his entire existence. And so, it's very difficult for most of us to put ourselves in that situation, given how the world works nowadays. But I can understand how, and I think it would be a challenge for the actor to make sure that an audience understands how, to what extent this has hurt him.
Mm. And the nice thing about starting with Richard rather than, any of the other characters, is, the play to some degree casts him in the role of villain. At least, he's the driver for, many of the problems happening. But actually, I think there is a point that we do need to look at. Actually, this is much more complicated. Seeing that at first glance it suggests there's a much more complicated family dynamic going on here. And mentioning Succession actually is another good example, I think, of terrible family dynamics, which has a wider impact on other people as well. Other final thoughts, because we do need to wind down now on this warm afternoon, thanks to climate change. Final thoughts.
I really like this play.
It's a fab play, isn't it?
I do.
It's such good writing.
Okay, well, I'll pull it. Final thought question is about Richard. We're almost halfway through Richard's text. Richard's journey thus far. Tamara, how's that been for you? We've still got half a journey to go at least. Potentially slightly more with the ending of the play is slightly lost. But you're almost at the halfway point in Richard's journey. And it really is a journey. Each scene is journeying, and also the play itself is journeying. So, final thoughts, Tamara, on Richard?
I mean, at this point, me and him are winning, so yay! But I really enjoy the complicated nature of this character, because it's I tend to like playing with are they villains? Are they not villains? Anyway, and I think it's that later on there's stuff in his language. He goes into prose for a scene. More things happen, the more complex the language gets and everything. And I really enjoyed just sort of starting the process of getting into all the things that he does. But it's he's just complicated. I'm waffling, but it's just he's a very complicated character, which is great, because you can get your teeth stuck in him, and it's very I hate to say this again because it sounds like I'm surprised by it, but it's very modern in the psychology behind the character. Yeah.
Excellent. Any final thoughts from anyone else on Richard's journey? Right. Well, in that case, I'm going to wrap up this session. I say we're sort of playing around with what we're going to do with these sessions as I try to figure it out. I feel that we are obliged at some point in the future to finish Richard's journey, as well as look at the play Woodstock in different ways as well. I'm not going to do the same exercise or the same kind of look at character or play every time. So, but I think we'll finish this exercise when we can schedule it and go forward from there. We're also looking at other plays in different ways, so keep looking out for the videos. They will be there, and also the general work that we do on plays from anything written prior to 1642. We like to explore and stage and bring to life. If you have any questions, thoughts, issues, or if you'd just like to dispense some passive-aggressive abuse, then get in touch on Twitter at Beyond Shakes and get in touch. And see if you're interested in doing this play. Trust me, it's worth doing. You want to do a history play, this is the one to do. Depending on your scale, terms and conditions apply. And on that note, I've been your host. These have been my fabulous team, and goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.